for two liquids to be completely mixed in each other is miscibility. An example of not being miscible is when we pour oil in water, you can see that it is not miscible. Eventually, a solid layer of the oil will form on the top because oil is less dense than water. Right now, we're going to talk about solute and solvent combinations. We do know that it's more likely for something to become a solution when the two substances are the same, when the solute and the solvent are either both polar or are both nonpolar. For example, when we have both polar solvent and a polar solute, they're very likely to become a solution. An example of this is salt water, because salt is likely to dissolve in water because they are both polar molecules. When the solvent is water, we call it hydration because the molecules of the solvent will attract themselves because of polar attraction, which is what takes place when salt dissolves in water. In polar solvent, nonpolar solute solutions, they're not likely to become a solution because they're not like things. For example, when you have water, when you try to dissolve wax in water, it won't work because they're the same substance.
Police also collected several life insurance policies taken out on Robin Rowe's husband and their two children. Robin was listed as the sole beneficiary on all of the policies, and she stood to gain more than $275,000 from the free death.
It's a similar case when you have a nonpolar solvent and a polar solute. They're not very likely to make a solution, and that's very similar as it was with the wax and the water with a polar solvent and a nonpolar solute. When you have a nonpolar solvent and a nonpolar solute, they are likely to become a solution. They are both nonpolar, which means they're like.
We took 6 ice cubes and we set them on the plate and put salt on one, sugar on one, and left the other one plain. After the first 5 minutes, we found it looked like the sugar was dissolving the ice cube faster. After the next 10 minutes, it looked like the salt was dissolving the ice cube faster.
Now that we look at it, we do know why it is that this is happening. The salt has seemed to be making more, has seemed to dissolve it more, and now it's got a hollow cave inside the ice, and the sugar one has just reduced in size compared to the plain one. This happens because salt is an ionic compound and sugar is not ionic. However, both salt and sugar are polar, which helps to dissolve the ice.